Hi guys, Martin Curry from Belief Media. I'm here with my business partner Domenico Bordil. The purpose of this video is to introduce you to our digital marketing and social media platform, the most powerful, the only full stack, the only integrated, and we'd argue the only compliant digital marketing solution ever made available to mortgage brokers in Australia. That includes financial advisors and accountants. The primary purpose is obviously lead generation. It manages all your marketing, your advertising, and integrates fully with your website. Mortgage brokers, the finance industry, has not known what a digital marketing solution looks like up until now. We've been doing this for 23 years. We've been around since 1997. We've helped hundreds of brokers in Australia, thousands maybe, certainly thousands around the world, achieve enormous success. And we're going to show you specifically how we've enabled them to do that. Below me is a digital marketing book. A manual essentially represents a manifesto, although we've cut it down by a couple of thousand pages, but it is about 550 pages and introduces a number of concepts, many of which you are probably not familiar with. We guarantee that the book in isolation, you don't need our help necessarily, but the book in isolation will introduce a measure of success to your business. Please download it, please read it. It will help your business. Again, this video will introduce a number of concepts. There are a large number of modules, over 120 modules in the system. We're going to talk about maybe 10 or so. The first chapter in the book, by the way, Data-Driven Behavioural Insights, it is well worth reading because the entire platform that we're introducing you to now is driven by integrated data. Every single system talks to another system. No system is isolation, no system is ignored, no data is ignored, no metric is ignored. It is very, very comprehensive. So the systems, Dom, which one do you want to start with?
Start with email marketing. Nice and simple, straightforward. You're sending out a series of emails. It could be a newsletter. You're talking autoresponders, which is an email subscription where you send a predefined series of emails to your clients. We've got, to create those, there's templates in the system, so you can just, with a few presses of the buttons, bring those templates in, so it will create those series of emails for you, or you can generate your own. So you've got both options in there. There's full statistics that go along with all those emails, the open, the click-through rates, the success that you're having from conversions from emails to your products. There's even triggers attached to these emails. So if people do certain actions or click on a certain link, we can actually have other things fire off from that. And
it's a full enterprise email system, and it's worth mentioning that it is actually integrated with your website. It's not like a fractional MailChimp setup over here and a dodgy little website over here. It's fully integrated. We send people to your website from your email, which is branded, by the way, fully 100% branded and powered in a very unique way. Again, read the manual. And that information carried via the email is all essentially exported or sucked into your website for the purpose of identification and assessing how users are navigating your marketing assets.
And the emails come directly from your company, an email you choose from your company. It's not a gobbledygooch email made up of a few characters and from some fancy email address which people don't know.
So all the features you expect in a high-level email marketing platform, we obviously provide that, and we do so with style. In fact, I would argue it's one of the most powerful email marketing products in the industry. To the letter of RG 234, to the letter of the law, if you like, it's probably one of the very few that is actually compliant. Certainly MailChimp and those sorts of places are not, despite the fact that everyone uses them. No one will probably ever be prosecuted for using them, but certainly they're all a little bit dodgy. So moving on, we've got SMS module. In fact, the SMS module is very extensive, more extensive than people are probably familiar with ever having seen in the past. People can send to individual lists. They can send to groups of users. They can send to groups of people associated with CRM, say opportunities. They can send to groups of people who are grouped together in Outlook contact folders. Essentially, there's no limit to the number of groups people can send to. And we also support MMS, which is multimedia-based text messaging, so images, video, and Audio. Audio becomes important because we have a voice drop system, a really extensive voice drop library. You can record directly into your browser. So hit a button on the browser, record a voice drop message, and that becomes available for you to send to anyone of your choosing or to attach to an SMS autoresponder campaign. It's very, very extensive and links to a whole bunch of other systems. In fact, links to virtually every system in the system, subscription forms and so on. But it is fully integrated, powered by Telstra's text messaging gateway. Why is that?
And we chose Telstra after looking at a few different providers. They've proven to be fairly reliable, which is one of the most important criteria we had.
Fairly reliable, extremely reliable. We've never missed a message.
Yeah. And
we'd argue it's probably the only compliant platform in Australia. And you definitely don't want to be using offshore SMS gateway services for Australian financial services, and never, ever use a free email service. That's a tip, because they're usually a siphoning tool for credit card numbers and things like that, usually all associated with nefarious and criminal activity. Again, read the book. So moving on.
We've got the document management system. There's a series of white labeled documents that we provide. With a push of a button, your logo, your company details will be superimposed onto those documents, and they're available for you to include as part of your email marketing campaigns, lead magnets on your website. And very importantly, version control too.
That becomes one of the features that people learn to love. Getting white label marketing material spoon-fed to them on a regular basis. And it's all included in the default cost. Now, moving on to newsletters. It's a newsletter program we run. At the moment, we run it every quarter, but that'll probably at some point switch over to every month. But again, the newsletter, we once again brand the newsletter with your logo and your company details, your phone number, your web address, all those sorts of things. It can be automatically scheduled and sent to certain groups of people. There's an automation panel on the platform that permits that sort of thing, or it can be manually sent. The same applies for RBA emails, and something I'll discuss really briefly in a second is text messaging campaigns. So RBA Tuesday, obviously the first Tuesday of every month, excluding December, or is January. Certainly, all you have to do every month, we feed that email into the system. All you have to do is log in and evaluate it, perhaps add some text and hit send. Now, that can also be automated via the automation panel, but we do encourage people to manually interact with that email for the purpose of awareness and the exposure effect and the omnipresence and all those sorts of things. We like people to engage, so we don't necessarily encourage that level of automation. But the same applies for text messaging. Text messaging has become, for RBA announcements, it's become the most powerful means of communicating with clients, and we've seen some extraordinary results, particularly when, for example, SMS messages are segregated with a voice drop, so to people who have specific products, St. George products, Bankwest products, Combank, NAB, St. George, so on. But we'll talk about that in our primary podcast. Podcast number 1, titled Hello World. Make sure you give it a listen. It goes forever. Now, moving on, we've got, what's next on the list here?
We've got article submission.
How does that work?
We create a series of articles each week. Every month there'll be a minimum of 8 articles available. And those become available for you at a push of a button again to post to your website.
It's a fantastic service. Social media, we've got a large number of social media modules. We don't want you spending any more time than you have to on social media. We actively encourage content generation. It's one of those things we know works. Certainly the same applies for your website. Despite the fact that we submit articles, we encourage a content generation strategy because we're very big on SEO, another component that we won't introduce now, but it's something we've been working with for 23 years, and we know what gets results. We see it every day. Certainly social media, Instagram, Flickr, your Facebook page and groups, LinkedIn, Tumblr, Twitter, YouTube, Wistia, Omni FM for podcasts, Google My Business, which is a big one. Certainly, once again, because it is the consumer-facing component of your business on Google when someone conducts a search, and most people are going to find your business via a search. If you rank well in Google, you will never need to advertise because you'll grow organically at a rate that is hard to keep up with anyhow. We've got a number of automated social media libraries. That includes finance content and finance history and finance funnies. They're just 3 finance categories, but there are probably 100 categories all up. where you can post certain types of content to any group, any page, any Twitter account, and so on.
And that's important. Excuse me. That's important because when you got a video or something you want to submit, it's all done for you. You can actually submit to multiple social media accounts with a push of a button now.
That's a really good point. And I'll just, to illustrate that, I can be out and about and post something on, record a quick video on Instagram. We have a thing here in the company called Marketing Minutes. I can record a marketing minute onto Instagram and have that uploaded to YouTube, sent to LinkedIn, have it sent to 5 Twitter accounts, have it sent to 10 Facebook pages if I want. I can send it to any number of locations. In fact, both the Facebook and Twitter module include what we call blasts, which are designed primarily for franchise-based business or aggregation-based businesses, or perhaps even sub-aggregation businesses, if there's such a thing anymore. But someone can go in and literally send the same message, but branded with company name and phone number. But again, that's something best left for the book, and certainly our primary podcast, Hello World. But social media integration is a massive topic, and there's not much our system does not do. And it's fully automated.
And high level statistics again.
Extremely high level statistics.
All compiled, so you're seeing how you're going across the whole lot.
In fact, I'll tell you, the level of statistics, the level of nested integration we get from social media is more comprehensive than any other platform on the planet. We can say that with a degree of certainty once again because it's the only social media platform that is integrated fully with email. And there is some really cool stuff that we've got planned for social media. We won't spill the beans just yet, but some really, really cool stuff. We've got Edge, which is a post-settlement system. It's used for developing customers in the post-settlement phase. It's used to support your referral relationships and your business partnerships and introducers and so on. It is probably the most sophisticated referral system available to the mortgage market. It's just part of our default system. It's just a single module. That's supported by 2 database clearing systems, which are called Jupyter and Pluto, for reasons, again, we discuss in the book. Then there's another system, which until this book was protected by our NDA, it returns routinely $450, $500 million a month for our aggregated brokers. It is more powerful than Facebook. It's not uncommon to see Saturn routinely deliver more than virtually all paid promotion combined. It is an amazing system, and we talk about it in the book. We essentially give you the information for free now because we're sick to death of competitors trying to rip off our stuff and claim it as their own. So moving on, we've got a telco module, which is unheard of. Talk about it.
Oh, the telco is incredible. It's a virtual PBX system, so it's the same as your copper run PBX system, but it's up in the cloud. You can configure it and set up call flows within the system. It manages all your phone calls. It does voice recording. It does call recording as well as voicemails. It also has triggers associated to it. So if you've got people calling you and you miss a call and they end up on voicemail, you can trigger off emails or SMSs or any sort of follow-up on that. We've got comprehensive call logs and statistics around that. There's call waiting, group. What was it? Sorry, group calls. Got there eventually. So when the people call up, it can ring a bunch of phones simultaneously, or it can ring them sequentially. There's queuing, so people end up in a queue. There's integrated voice recording, which gives the menu. And geographic diversions are fantastic. So depending on where people are calling from, they can be diverted, or you can have a priority list. So if someone's on that priority list, they get diverted to a specific person.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's also worth noting you get multiple voicemail options. You get call on hold, music, or podcasting. It's one of the things we talk about in the book is a call on hold podcast. Don't waste your podcast with cheesy, crappy music. Put on a podcast like this. Not the people who want to listen to this on hold. But it is an option, and it's something we do and we use. But those geographic numbers, we host 1300 numbers, 1800 numbers, 13 numbers, geographic numbers, virtual mobile numbers. We do the lot, and which means, by the way, you can have a Sydney-based brokering business, for example, and have a geographic or at least a telco presence in Brisbane and Melbourne. So it does assist in conversions in those regions. It's like a 1300 number, a smart number, which is a number that spells out a word, like 1300 belief, 1300 235 433, and that's all discussed in the book. There's a lot of information actually on the telco integration in the book. An example of the integration of the broad system, I guess, comes from if somebody calls a specific number. If you have a number associated with a specific campaign or a specific type of interest, like first-home buyers, or a specific office or location or whatever else, we can add those numbers to SMS distribution lists if they're identified as a mobile, or even if they're not, but normally if they're identified as a mobile. With regard to our Facebook marketing program, if somebody calls in on a mobile number or a landline number, we can add that individual to Facebook's custom audiences. Again, a strategy that's absolutely unheard of. In fact, I doubt you'd find that feature anywhere, certainly in the finance industry, which is represented by knuckleheads, but even outside, you'd struggle to find that level of functionality. So again, the PSTN network, the public switch telephone network, and the ISDN network is due to be retired next year by September, I think. So you are obligated to move your telco systems into a NBN supported service, which is essentially a VoIP, voice over IP based service, or internet telephony. So it makes sense to invest in a product like this. And in many cases, the entire service we've just described costs less than a mobile phone subscription. And it is the one module we don't include by default into the system. So Telco is a standalone system. It's one of our companies that we manage through Jabba. So that's, but it does fully integrate. So once you have access to this system, it fully integrates and completes your marketing.
And also being a VoIP system, remote working, it all comes from one number. So people using the software on their phone or a VoIP phone, when they call out, it can show up as your company's core number.
That's right. And it's important to note there as well that we can integrate it with Microsoft Teams. If you're a Microsoft-driven company and you are a Teams-driven company, we can set up the what's called direct routing through, a VoIP service through into the Teams environment. And that does, we've trialled that for a number of months. We've played with that ourselves as a company internally, and it does work really, really well. Now, the mobile service, again, is one that you'll have to read the manual to fully understand the scope of features and services, because it is truly amazing the amount of statistics, the wait times as graphs, the answer time, the call queues, all those sort of things are produced in very easy to read stats. So you understand exactly how your business is performing. And when you see these stats, you understand the importance of having telco integrated with your bottom of funnel marketing strategy. That is when people work through the marketing funnel, again, discussed in the book and in our first podcast at length, actually. But when they pop out the other end, you find those weak points, if you like, in the marketing funnel, and you're able to fill them up. So moving along, we've got Facebook ad management, but this is, again, just one of numerous marketing modules, but I'll talk about this one because it's one that so many people gravitate towards. We see brokers move towards Facebook marketing all the time. And we see people invest in programs for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 that are less effective than the program we give away for free. And I'll say that again because that's important, and we talk about it over and over in our podcast. Number one is the product people are paying $10,000 or $15,000 for, sometimes $5,000 or $10,000, is less effective than the one we give away for free. We say that definitively, black and white, clear as crystal. That is just how it is. And that's because we've been doing it for 23 years. We just know the industry and we're able to do that. So most people provide a solution as described in the book, which is very generic and boring and works just because of the premise that virtually any advertising works. Now, you have to really read the book and listen to these podcasts, I guess, and maybe watch a few of our additional videos to identify with our point of difference. But all those systems that are sold to people are managed via our platform with the click of a button. Audience creation is created with the click of a button. Ads are potentially, depending upon your level of service, is created at the click of a button. Everything is literally created at the click of a button. So what may take you 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, sometimes 100 hours with other people takes us 3 seconds. We do have a system called Solus or Solius. which we won't be releasing until early January because of compliance-related reasons. We've got a meeting with ASIC next week to discuss that. And the idea with this system that we want to promote, and we expect to fully promote by early January, is one where everything is managed. The single click of a button will create a landing page on your website. It will create an email. It'll create the forms necessary for the 35 points of automation that we provide, SMSs, emails, and so on. It provides an email autoresponder sequence, an SMS autoresponder sequence. It provides all the task management. It creates custom audiences. It creates ads. It does everything that you would expect from all these gutter products around the place, and it does all of that with the click of a button. It's extremely, extremely powerful, and again, it's an integrated solution, so I guess you'd come to expect that level of functionality.
And with everything integrated, the great thing about that is we can build up behaviours of clients, people visiting. So if someone calls in, if someone visits a web page and clicks on certain interests, and the interests are predominantly first-time buyer or it could be investors, if they get an email and they're the ones that they open up and they respond to, this all adds to our data-driven models. And so we understand and we can then segment the audience based on their behaviours for more targeted approaches for marketing.
Nothing is more important than data, and we go into it in great detail in our first podcast called Hello World, where we talk extensively about conditional content. In fact, we have another podcast scheduled. I can't see around the corner there, but I think it's number 7 or 8, where we talk exclusively about conditional content. Your website becomes the chameleon of the website world. If we're able to identify the audience type of the individual who's visiting your website, we're able to actually change the content shown, for example, on the front page videos and maybe podcasts and pictures and images and banners and things like that. It is a really amazing website, really, despite its simplicity. And here's the thing, we give it to you for free. It's part of the product. And everything we've just described is priced lower than virtually every single competing product on the market, which is rather unbelievable. And you're supported by us. We've set up brokerages. I've set up a $450 million brokerage where I was qualified. Domenico's a qualified mortgage broker, non-practicing, of course. We're both qualified real estate agents. We've been around the industry forever. We've been in the digital marketing space since 97. We've been doing it forever. We're very good at it. If you'd like to have a talk to us, give us a call on 1300 235 433. That's 1300 BELIEF, 1300 235 433, or visit us at www.beliefmedia.com.au. We really do look forward to talking to you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.